This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. You have a pet business in general, and things just aren't going the way that you'd like them to. And this year, you really want it to be different. Then stay tuned because today I am diving in to the deep work that is required of every single business owner who wants to succeed with ease. If you've already started practicing some of the tools I discussed in the previous episode regarding your energy and making sure you show up with the energy that attracts abundance, attracts the customers that you desire, and you gain new customers with ease, you handle difficult situations with no problem, smooth and calm, and they turn out to be positive situations in the end, then today's tips are going to be even easier because that was the prelude to today's work. And that work is stepping into the root of natural magnetic energy, the kind that quietly attracts your dream pet business without forcing, chasing, or overthinking. This is literally where the rubber meets the road. This is where the real work begins, where you actually build the business that you desire, that you envision, and it flows, it goes easily, and it's successful and sustainable. Because here's the thing, you can meditate, you can journal all you want, you can spend time in nature, all of the tools I've given you that are very good to use to keep yourself centered and grounded and focused and emotionally regulated, especially for the customers that challenge your emotions. And still, you can find yourself playing scenarios with customers or their animals or meet and greets over and over and over again in your head, ruminating on, did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Maybe I should charge less. Why haven't they texted me back yet? Checking your emails constantly to see if they've emailed you a response as to whether or not they're going to choose you. Maybe you've already followed up more than once because the wait is just so unbearable. Maybe you are really counting on this income because it's a slow month. If you've been checking your phone every 5 minutes for a response from a customer to see if you're going to get that gig, then this episode is for you. And don't worry, we have all been there. We have all started out that way. We've all had our highs and lows, and we've all experienced the worry, the concern, the feast or famine that we go through in this business. It's natural to go through this. And the higher the stakes feel, the harder it is to go through these situations. But what if I offered you a new perspective? If you're sending out desperate text messages or emails, trying to follow up with the customer multiple times, waiting to hear back from them to see if they chose you. If you're overthinking, if you're over-explaining things, if you're coming back to them and saying, okay, you know what, I'll take a little less money, how likely is it that a potential customer is going to start second-guessing your expertise, your capability? Think about dating for a second. How do you feel when someone is way too eager, way too soon? Constantly texting you, love bombing you all day long before they even met you, trying to lock you down before there's any real solid foundation? It usually feels uncomfortable, awkward, right? Maybe a little overwhelming or concerning. Like, what's wrong with this person? Right? The same thing happens in business. If you haven't done the inner work to calmly navigate inconsistency, uncertainty, and uncomfortable moments with a confident presence, then chances are you are scaring off potential customers and possibly even current customers, whether you know it or not. So let's talk about the energetic foundational skills that can make or break everything in your business. The skills that are going to help you find and maintain the right customers for life. This one is massive and frequently overlooked, in my opinion. But I was lucky enough to start here when I started on my journey of these skill sets, these energetic skill sets, you could say, that are the foundation to building and maintaining a positive magnetic, electrifying energy that radiates confidence and expertise and professionalism and just draws customers into you and keeps them locked into your services so they never look anywhere else for pet services. The very first thing that you want to start working on and master if you want to show up with good mojo for your pet business is forgiveness. And I don't mean starting with your clients or friends and family. I mean yourself, forgiving yourself. And you might sit there and think, well, what do I have to forgive myself for? But if you think about all the times that you've shamed yourself in your head, that you felt guilty about something, that you reviewed something you did that you weren't so proud of. These are all areas that you could probably stand to forgive yourself. And it doesn't have to pertain particularly to your business. It can be anything. Because if you are walking around shaming and guilting and beating yourself up on the inside, then it's like you're spraying bleach on your flowers every day and expecting them to bloom and shine. It doesn't work that way. So, years ago, I was going through a lot of difficult situations. I had a huge falling out with a best friend I'd had since college. I was getting into it with a family member. I didn't feel good. I was attracting all of these people that kept disrespecting me, and I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. I wasn't happy in my profession, and it was, I mean, everything you could in my mind, everything was wrong, right? Everything was going wrong and nothing was going for me. It was all going against me. And so I literally typed into Google, how do I forgive? Because I was really struggling with forgiving my friend. And I knew that if I continued to ruminate and fester on our falling out, that it was going to destroy me from the inside out. So I wanted to forgive her. I didn't want to forget what she did. I just wanted to forgive her for my own well being, for my own cleansing. And lo and behold, it led me to this book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I believe it's by Dr. Travis Bradbury and Dr. Jean Greaves. Not only did this book lead me to the power of forgiveness, but it led me to something even more powerful, which was the power of self forgiveness. Now, if you're anything like me, self forgiveness was a hard pill to swallow. It's a lot easier said than done, right? It's like going to the mirror and saying, I love you as you look yourself in the eyes. It's not always easy. And if you can't do that, then you know you got some work to do. So go back to the times in your life where you've noticed that you are guilting, you're shaming, you're reviewing those past moments that you feel bad about, and start forgiving yourself for those things one by one. After I read this information in the book and the importance of self forgiveness first and foremost in order to be able to forgive others, I started becoming more self aware of the times that I was beating myself up, that I was shaming myself. And one day, here I was working from home at my previous job in the corporate field, and I realized all of a sudden that I broke my own cardinal rule. I had a rule for myself that if a customer called me and left a voicemail, I would always return their call within 24 hours, no less, typically a lot sooner, right? Now, for some reason that week, my brain was scattered. I was probably ruminating about my girlfriend that I had a falling out with, who knows? And I did not call this customer. And I realized it had been over 24 hours. I felt shame. Immediately, I started beating myself up. Immediately, I started asking, like, how could I do that? How could I let that happen? That in the 9 or so years that I'd been with this company, I had never, not once, called a customer back within 24 hours. What's wrong with me? You know the drill. You start going there, you start spiraling down. And then I started walking to the kitchen for some emotional therapy, let's just say, in the form of snacks, because I had been more cognizant, more self aware of trying to forgive myself of my mistakes. I was walking through the doorway into the kitchen and I remembered that I need to forgive myself. And I don't know what overcame me, but all of a sudden, out of my mouth, I said it out loud, I forgive myself. And it was like a whole wave of new energy just filled my body. It was like somebody sprinkled fairy tale dust on me. I mean, to the point where I wanted to look around and see if I was not alone anymore. And I immediately felt this peace and this release, and it felt good. And the next thought I had was, I just need to call the customer and apologize. It's that simple. And I turned around without the snacks and I went and called my customer. And I profusely apologized and let him know that I broke my own rule and I was really sorry and I didn't know what happened or why I forgot. And the guy cut me off and was like, April, you have never, ever not called me back right away. And I remembered how little grace I was giving myself. And I was lucky that that customer remembered to give it to me first. He reminded me that I'm human. When I said I forgive myself out loud, I reminded myself that I am human, that we all make mistakes, that we are never perfect, and that that's okay. But isn't it interesting how a near stranger, I mean, he was a customer, but otherwise we were strangers, he could give me more grace than I was giving myself. So often we extend our compassion to others so easily first, but we rule with an iron fist for ourselves. That moment forever changed my life, and it became sort of a ritual anytime I made a mistake and caught myself beating myself up for something I did wrong. And I would say, and still to this day, I forgive myself. When you say it out loud, when you incorporate your vocal cords and your movement, your physicality, along with the emotions behind it, it becomes so powerful. It's nearly often the forgiveness has had. The work is done. It is that simple. And if it helps you to remember, take a post it note and put forgiveness or I forgive myself in various places around the house so that you start to become more self aware that you need to forgive yourself on a regular basis. When you do this, you're getting rid of the cancer inside of your body that steals your thunder, that robs your good mojo. Moving on to foundation number two. If you want to make sure you are always maintaining and reaching a higher quality frequency or energy so that your business thrives this year, treating yourself with self respect is how you stay radiant. So many pet business owners are exhausted because they deeply care about their customers and their furry clients, and they do it without protection. You can probably relate because it comes down to as simple as when you explain your business hours and yet people still don't want to abide by them, and you have compassion and you understand where they're coming from. And so you go, okay, you can come late or you can come early because you don't want to disappoint them or you don't want to lose the booking, right? But what expense is that? That is to the expense of your own self respect. Because chances are there was something that you wanted to do with your family or your friends or just for yourself, a little downtime. Maybe you wanted that extra time to get something ready for later in the day. It doesn't matter. You now just forbid yourself to be able to have that time because you made an exception to the rule and disrespected your needs first. Sometimes, literally, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and your business is to say this one syllable word, no. Or if you have a client who constantly disrespects your policies and crosses over your boundaries, you let them go. Not to punish them, but so that you can show up fully for the customers who do respect your boundaries and your policies on a consistent basis. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a really close friend who's always calling you with her latest crisis. Every week, it's another 2 hour or 3 hour conversation about her drama. And you really care deeply for your friend, so you pour into her. You try to inspire her to make better choices or put her foot down or whatever it is she has to do to improve her situation. You try to remind her of how much she's worthy to have a better situation. And yet she continues to accept the same behavior from people who disrespect her, or the same behavior from a boss who's constantly yelling and putting her down or something, right? She's making that choice. And after weeks or months or maybe even years of this with some friends, I know I've been there, you start to realize that when you hang up the call, you are feeling drained. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling angry. Her energy was contagious. And it's not the kind of energy you want to pick up. Eventually, you realize in order to protect your own peace, it's probably best that you start distancing yourself from her. Not because you don't care for her or you're trying to punish her, but because you respect you and your energy first. You know, protecting your energy is an act of self respect. And the exact same principle applies to your pet business. Letting go of clients who repeatedly cross your boundaries isn't cold, it's conscious. And you're here to be a conscious pet sitter. Am I wrong? It's how you protect your capacity, your presence, and your passion for what you do to keep your pet business alive, thriving, and sustainable. And when you do this, the right clients are not only attracted to you, but they can feel it and they stay with you for the long haul. Foundation 3 is one of my favorite ones because this is actually something that I see a lot of pet business owners doing and they don't ever realize it. And that is carrying the weight of your clients. Now, of course, I don't mean you're picking up your clients and carrying them across the room, right? But if your business feels heavy, it just feels heavy and dark all the time, then chances are it's because you're carrying too much of the load that is not yours. You discount because they can't afford me. You bend your hours because it's just not convenient for their schedule. Maybe we even emotionally support them like a therapist, right? I've had customers where they come to pick up their dog and they start talking about their personal life. And before you know it, you are helping, you're coaching them into, handling some sort of situation with their spouse or something, right? That's not a business, right? That's charity. That's therapy. And I don't have to tell you that operating like charity or therapy is not a good business model. I mean, how many people do you think you'll be able to help in the long haul if you can't emotionally or financially maintain your business? I liken it to volunteering at a soup kitchen, and instead of serving meals, you walk around with a cooler on your back all day just to make sure the homeless eat. Eventually, you're exhausted and probably a little resentful too. So, here is the truth to the matter. When you finally say no to a customer, and the client gets upset, it's not because you're wrong for saying no. It's because you've trained them to expect you to always say yes. You've trained them that you will always give them an exception, that you will always bend the rules for them. And that resentment energy, that's when you say something that later on you have to forgive yourself for saying. And that is exactly what creates bad reviews. So it just perpetuates the cycle. But when you operate from a sense of self respect, self worth, you draw clear lines and you hold them. And when you do this, you create respect from those interacting with you. You teach people how to treat you with respect. And in fact, it's pretty cool because oftentimes you end up inspiring them and teaching them how to have self respect, how to hold the line and have boundaries, and teach other people how to treat them with respect as well. And if you have clients that don't respect you setting the boundaries and holding the line, then those are the clients you let go of. And don't consider that as a loss. That's a win. So here's the deal, when you're accepting every broke, pushy, boundary crossing customer, it's a sign that you are craving validation or you are foregoing your needs first, and it's clearly a sign that you need to work on your self-worth, your self-respect, your self-love. Whether you're starving for food or you're starving for self-worth, you're always going to grab whatever is easiest. You're always going to do whatever is easiest. Think about it. When you haven't eaten in 2 days, how likely are you to spend an hour cooking a healthy meal versus running to your local fast food burger joint and eating a seed oil, greasy burger and fries? Whether you're starving for food or you're starving for self worth or self respect, the same applies. You'll always grab whatever is easiest to satiate your starvation. By living in alignment with your self respect, your self worth, and self love first, even in your business, by saying no to a customer who is constantly trying to get you to discount their prices, even when you're worried about paying the bills, builds strength. It builds resilience. It forces you to get resourceful, maybe even creative in ways that you can drum up new business with good customers who respect you. And this kind of energy is always going to reward you and your business tenfold. Maybe not as quickly as you like. You have to remember when you're working on these things, when you're doing all of the tools I discussed in the previous episode, journaling, meditating, going out in nature, and then you start working on forgiveness and self-respect and self-worth and not carrying everyone else's load, it's going to have this like leg time, okay? It's not like the universe immediately turns around and goes, oh, okay, you've changed. Here we go. We're going to change your circumstances overnight. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. So don't give up. Keep putting it in. Keep putting the work in. And you're going to start to see that it changes everything in small ways that start to build up. And you're going to get more confidence to say no when you want to say no, to put your foot down and hold the line when you need to hold the line. And you're going to start to see the rewards that come in from it, the new customer that comes as soon as you fire the other one. It's amazing how it works, but don't expect it to happen overnight and just think, oh, this isn't working, and throw up your hands and give up. This is really a test to see how true and resilient you can be. And the more you show up, the more reward you're going to see. Saying yes to a customer's request to show up after business hours, let's just say, is the easiest way to ease yourself of the discomfort of facing whether or not you're going to self respect and say no versus yes. If you say yes, it just immediately makes you feel comfortable in the situation because you no longer have to deal with that conflict. But that yes comes with a cost. And that cost is your self worth, your self respect. But when you delay the instant gratification of easing the uncomfortable, the awkwardness by saying yes to a customer and you hold out and you actually say no, you will begin to see that you stop attracting customers who disrespect your boundaries. It's almost as if the universe is watching you make the harder choices, choosing to delay your gratification and choosing yourself first, and will end up over time rewarding you with greater gratification than you even could have imagined in the first place. I remember doing this when I was digging myself out of over $80,000 in debt. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but it's like when I delayed my instant gratification of spending money on things that I didn't really have to have, then I saved $1,000 for an emergency fund. So that way, every time an emergency happened, I didn't have to put it on a credit card and increase my debt. It took a little bit of time, but after I saved that $1,000 emergency fund, it seems as if emergencies disappeared. It was my reward from the universe because I had delayed my instant gratification, my desire for things, and I instead put that money away for a rainy day. And all of a sudden, the constant emergencies that were popping up into my life over and over again up until that point, so it seemed, came to a halt. The same is true in your pet business. When you choose self respect over quick relief, you stop attracting clients who will drain you and you start attracting clients who will honor you. And your energy is going to be the lighthouse that not only attracts new clients, but keeps current clients coming back for more. And that is the true foundational work when it comes to making sure you have good energy to build and attract the business of your dreams. So it's up to you. You can say this inner foundational energy mojo work is silly and all woo woo and it has nothing to do with my business, April. And you can go on about your bad self and keep on doing what you're doing and expecting different results. Or you can start looking at what areas are you disrespecting yourself? What areas are you not showing up for yourself first and putting clients ahead of you all the time because it's easier to say yes? You can start looking at the areas of where you're carrying their load when it's their responsibility to carry it. And you can start turning that around so that life is not only more enjoyable for you, but you also attract that which you most desire. So if you like this episode, please do me a favor, make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and until next time, happy tales to you.